Welcome back, everyone, to the Overwatch League Spring Stage Qualifier. Our last, but certainly not least, final match of the day, the Seoul Dynasty versus the Guangzhou Charge. Both teams undefeated. Seoul sitting at third, Guangzhou in second. It's the battle for top three.
Yeah, both of these teams are looking very good coming into our Spring Stage Qualifiers. And I think that this is actually anybody's game. While there have been maybe some doubts about Guangzhou Charge making less changes than many teams during the off-season, what they do appear to have done is just tightened up the nuts. They've battened down the hatches, and things are looking a lot cleaner for this team. Piggy has definitely come in as a huge influence on the overall aggressiveness and tempo of this team, and Piggy, I think, has been popping off quite recently. We've always known that Choice A1 had the talent to be like the guy for Guangzhou Charge, but it never really translated into consistent victories. Choice A1 sometimes just like grabbed a map out of nowhere, like, oh, Guangzhou Charge can do it. Like, they're not going to do it. However, I think that Farway as well, I'm just going to gush about the Guangzhou Charge roster because I think that they are outstripping expectations. Farway's been exceeding them as well. On the other side, Seoul Dynasty, definitely a team that's had a lot more changes with Profit leaving and then rejoining, and of course being joined by their twin, PH, as well.
Yeah, and just to jump in about the first roster here, Guangzhou have retained 4 of the 5 players from last year. Xerneas, Jimmy, Choice and 1 Farway. Piggy, who I didn't feel like got much time in the spotlight over Dante. And how could you? I mean, Dante is one of the best tanks in the league, and Piggy is going to be proving that, well, he can hold his own as the only tank on this roster. And Guangzhou Charge, interestingly, is half Chinese, half Korean roster, so wondering how communication breaks down there. But the oh, and by the way, Guangzhou Charge, their only match win was against the Dallas Fuel, who are sitting in almost last place. So, you know, with that only match win, where are the power levels for the Guangzhou Charge?
What I can say is that I think Guangzhou Charge won that game rather than Dallas Fuel losing it. But still, like, we don't think Dallas Fuel are the strongest team right now. Here's our match preview. It's the Overcharged, the fully charged Guangzhou is ready to get over the Tigers. Everyone knows that Tigers are actually quite weak to electricity. Don't ask how anybody found that out. It's quite unethical. And the Tigers themselves, we've got the Profit PH duo here, and Profit, obviously, many people regard him as the GOAT. He was on the first team ever to win the Overwatch League, and won the Spitfire back in 2018, and honestly, one of the most zeitgeist-defining players in the pre-Overwatch League era as well, with GC Busan, Gesture, and Profit playing Tracer Winston, really redefined what it was to have a synchronized dive, which led them to so many victories over teams that some people might have said had, at the time, a lot more roster value than them. Teams like Lunatic High and LW that eventually became the New York Excelsior, and the Seoul Dynasty, the original interpretation as well. And we've got Void returning from retirement as well, who I think is going to be a big secret source for this team. Void, of course, is a maestro of many tanks, but classically more of an off-tank player, excellent on both the Sigma and on the Diva.
Ria on this roster, cut from the Philadelphia Fusion and became the Seoul Infernal, but Seoul Dynasty got the last laugh at the end, beating the Seoul Infernal in a Game 5. That was their only match win. But a difference in wins when Seoul beat one of the best teams and Guangzhou being one of the worst teams. But coming out the gates, we have the Seoul Dynasty sitting in 3rd place. After a Game 5 differential, of course, that's what puts them there. This is a battle for the top 3. Here's your starting roster. Profit, PH, Ria from the Fuel, and a big pickup from SPG, Lee Soo Min, as their flex support player.
Yeah, Lee Soo Min, a lot more time in contenders. Colonel, of course, has been touring around a couple of teams after being discovered initially by the London Spitfire from the depths of like open division in Korea. Was a true rookie, almost like Jonak, coming out of very low tier competition to be picked up by the ill-fated 2020 roster of the London Spitfire. Belos, as you said, returning from the Philadelphia Fusion, now the Seoul Infernal, coming in obviously to play more of a main tank role here for control, where you're expecting to see a little bit more of the Winston, maybe even some Wrecking Ball, which is what Belos is best known for. His Wrecking Ball has essentially won series in mid-season madness for Philadelphia Fusion last year, and can do the same thing for Seoul Dynasty as well.
So unfortunately, Hammond has fallen out of the meta. It's with the presence of Ana and of course the Sombra. There's just so many counters out. Prophet making sure he looks cute on camera, fixing the hair. Girl, same. Because Belos got the bangs out. That's what I look like when I don't get mine cut after a while. Dynasty feeling good, looking good, up against the Guangzhou Charge, which I'm having a hard time really assessing the power levels right out the gate. You said Guangzhou Charge played so well. Pushed Dallas Fuel up against the wall. Like, that was a disgusting 3-0. But Seoul Dynasty played a better team. So our Seoul Dynasty, the better team here.
Yeah, and Prophet still having it. When it comes to the overall power level, the Choice A1 jersey versus the PH jersey. A rivalry, not a rivalry that I think is going to come to massive fruition in this particular matchup. Choice A1 is definitely going to be spending more time mano a mano with Prophet in this particular matchup. Instead, Jimmy's going to be going up against PH themselves. PH, of course, coming in to play more hit scans, covering a couple of Prophet's weaker heroes, like the Widowmaker, like the Ashe. Prophet has been able, over the course of many years, to expand his hero pool into those hit scans, but I wouldn't say that he's like world-class like his Tracer is, where he could indisputably be in the top 2, top 3.
The Guangzhou Charge, here's your starting roster. Jimmy, as you mentioned, I think the clear carry on this team, MVP, player of the match of their previous series against the Fuel, Hitscan Warlord, and he remains on the roster from last year. And you're gonna hear us talk a lot about Jimmy during this. I think the biggest question mark for me is how Piggy is going to do. I remember when he did sub in for the Houston Outlaws on the North American side of things, you know, you had some goofy Roadhog, some Sigma, held his own, would win a map, then leave and drop the mic. So we'll see if he can continue dropping other teams, starting off against the Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, Xerneas, of course, some of you may recognize, formerly known as Evil Tar, going from one Pocket Monster Beast name to another, a little bit of evolution. Previously, Xerneas was known for their Mercy, playing the Pocket Mercy for Jinmu on the ill-fated Chengdu Hunters. But since then, despite being a world-class Mercy, Xerneas has proven that he is equally dangerous on other main supports, including the Brigitte, which I think currently is Xerneas' best. The Lucio also super serviceable, but for me, the excitement when it comes to the support line is in the Farway Ana. When it comes to just neutral positioning, I think Farway has some of the best Ana positioning, has some disgusting angles that would make Jaws swear if he saw them, in order to pump out maximum healing while having maximum safety.
That looks like me without bangs, eyebrows and everything. I'm a mean-looking person. I don't know who they drew that. I don't think they know who I am. But from the comps, the 3 maps that Guangzhou played, it was a lot of dive on a brig. Jimmy, a ton of Hanzo on Hollywood and Nepal. Choice in one on the dive heroes, Tracer and Genji. On the other side of things, we got a lot more maps to look at when it comes to the Seoul Dynasty, including the matchup of Prophet versus Choice in one on the Tracer. Prophet primarily playing that Tracer with Belosria's Winston. Not a ton of Hammond from Belosria unless it was maybe a Blizzard World, but like we said, against the Ana and the Sombra, it's a tough one for Belosria to pull off. PH likes to flex between so many different, we saw so many heroes from this guy. Ashe, Sombra, Hanzo, Symmetra, Widow, Sojourn, you name it, PH played it.
Prophet here with our Tracer graphic. Some nice deaths, but unfortunately Choice Air 1's lack of deaths is even nicer at 2.4 per 10. And we're going to be able to see plenty of those Tracers, I imagine, here on Lijiang Tower. This is actually one of the maps where Belos really carved his name into the Dwarven runic legend of Overwatch. His Wrecking Ball on Lijiang Tower. I think we managed to cast that match in Mid-Season Madness. It was absolutely brutal. I think it might have been against the Guangzhou Spark. I can't remember the exact match. I do remember Belos Ria, though, dominating on the ball on Night Market and managing to save that series for the Philadelphia Fusion. Looking to do the same thing here for the Seoul Dynasty. And for Belos Ria, whose career looked somewhat perilous after Fusion dropped him and he went down to Contenders instead, it's got to be a great rebound. Absolutely invigorating to go from being dropped from Philly and going to Contenders to representing Seoul. Seoul Dynasty, and I suppose now Seoul Infernal to a slightly lesser degree, have a huge amount of pedigree and prestige by representing the capital of South Korea, which is definitely the capital of top-tier Overwatch gaming at the moment. And there's a huge amount of pride in being able to be the player that represents that.
Well, let's talk about this map. First, we got the cheers. Seoul versus Guangzhou. Out the gates. Junker Queen rush from the Seoul Dynasty. Keep an eye on the Symmetra turret. Okay, I wasn't sure if they were going to want to go right to the point. They kind of hovered over different types of rush. Now the Reinhardt May, and they still managed to TP on time. And this is going to be a tough stronghold to break for the Charge.
It's going to be a real tough stronghold, but for Seoul Dynasty here, discipline is the name of the game. You don't overpeak Jimmy, you don't allow yourself to be caught out by something like an anti-nade, but aggressive play using the TPs to get onto the far away is exactly the kind of proactivity they need.
Surprised that Seoul wanted to take the initiative there. It's obviously safer. Well, you got the taxi back. It's obviously safer to just play within the point, play off the contact of your turrets, and find the May isolation wall from Prophet. Gotta be careful of how your supports are exposed when you push up against a Genji of choicey one, but Seoul get the cap first.
Yeah, clarity of vision here from Seoul. Following the plan and doing it with good execution is incredibly important. Prophet being a newer player on this team, on this Symmetra, it's good to see that the calls of the TPs are being trusted this much. A lot of faith in Seoul Dynasty's newest acquisition.
And they even got the spray on the point, so you know Seoul Dynasty are owning. Guangzhou Charge, just looking for any arrows to find a headshot, maybe onto PH or Prophet. As Belos Ria cycles his shield well. As soon as it's broken, they teleport onto the backline of Charge. Farway is removed. They use the photon barrier to re-engage into the point. And this increasing scaling damage of Symmetra is too much for the Charge to handle. Symmetra, one of the most vulnerable DPS you can play due to the lack of mobility, has to be a primary target of the Charge.
The timings being played here by Seoul Dynasty, as you pointed out, was about letting the shield break and then using what Guangzhou Charge thought was an opening to actually turn it around onto them, pulling the classic call an ambulance, but not for me. As Belos Ria, I don't need a shield to TP on top of this Ana. Oh, yeah.
Prophet's waiting for the isolation wall. Okay, well,
yeah,
no one has seen him. Choicey One and Piggy just walked past him. Prophet's like, okay, well, these are not the people I want to lock into a small room with me. Blade at the ready for Choicey One. Rally from Xerneas. Far away with the nano on the Choicey One, but the blizzard from Prophet locks it down. Choicey One somehow lives, as Guangzhou Charge depend on this Blade to produce a win after Seoul Dynasty drained of their ultimates and down 2. It's a 5 versus 3 for the Charge, looking for the flip at 95% for the Dynasty. It works out Charge's way with the cleanup.
Say Choicey One somehow survives. I'm going to clear up the somehow surviving. It all came down to Xerneas. They're actually interrupting the charge coming through from Belos Ria. Admittedly, Krillin did a little bit of peeling for Choicey One as well by booping him both out of the blizzard and out of the charge. But Xerneas was on point and ready to intercept that to keep his prince safe. Ooh. That was disgusting.
Okay, 5 to 4. This Charge continue to hold the choke. Prophet not able to break through. Is Belos Ria maybe rethinking this strategy? Or maybe not. You wouldn't want to change for the... You got the shatter in mind. Seoul Dynasty to the left side. Speed called by Krillin. Careful of the arrows from Jimmy. Dragon Strike thrown right in the middle. Speed passed. Seoul Dynasty 2-antied. And really unaffected at this moment, as now the Charge find a moment to dive on. They catch PH. As Seoul Dynasty continues to take shelter and look for a target to engage on, as Prophet will do the scouting, but Dynasty don't have a target.
Oh, it was Jimmy time right there. Getting a pick onto the caster, removing the main source of damage. And Belos Ria can't find an opening to use this Earth Shudder at the moment wants to try and force the barrier out of Piggy first, but they're just being so well harried by the Guangzhou Charge of its long-range utility.
Oh, Piggy, oh, the nade! As Piggy jumped away. PH gets the last lap without that tank. Yeah, Nano Choice One doesn't have the blade, but that'll get him an assassination immortality from Lee Soo-min! Saves his life when Choice One was looking for the final blow. Shatter from Belosaria. 2 on the ground and 3 dead for the Charge as the Dynasty regain control. And there, the pretty limp blade. Not Deadeye, it's a zoning tool. And actually, PH gets beat to death. And so do the rest of the Charge, but the blade worked out for Choice One despite popping it at such low health. And managed to save the fight, but no one was on the point. Jimmy!
Jimmy, unfortunately, not enough blinks to return in time. And Guangzhou Charge there, I think, were a victim of tactical intractability. They were not able to adapt in time. They wanted to play the Nano Blade so hard that they let Piggy die for no reason. Farway definitely should have put the Nano onto Piggy to keep him alive and keep Seoul Dynasty at bay. The fact he dies after he's disengaged to a sticky nade is a little bit of a problem for Guangzhou Charge. I wouldn't say that it's an endemic problem that's going to leave me consistently questioning this team. But if Guangzhou Charge continue to, like, allow Piggy to die because they want to play the Nano Genji when Genji doesn't even have a blade, that could crystallize into a long-term problem for this team.
Prophet also questioning how Dynasty even won that last round when I believe everyone was dead. But it's another Reinhardt brawl. We don't usually get to see the soldier. PH cooking up something nice with those sneakers. Seoul Dynasty, you always put the spray down. They won it last time they did that. To 99%, Charge almost had a comeback. But they're stuck at the bridge. We'll have to make some room for Jimmy. As now without the symmetric teleporter from Seoul, they can't just jump into the back line of the Charge like they did on Night Market. Seoul will be capping first and playing off the wall contact. Choice One peeks at the door, headshot onto Choice One, I think, or Jimmy, I think that was, but Jimmy hits the better one onto PH as it's 5-4 for the Charge.
There's a reason that's Custer's best man. A well-placed sleep. The anti-2 Belos is getting absolutely cyberbullied right now, Lemon.
Jimmy is in charge. Speaking of the Charge, they're still fighting back. Oh, PH. Oh, the Reinhardt. Jimmy is a pain sandwich, and it don't taste good. Belosaria, though, is an anchor for this point and for the Dynasty, who don't have main heals with Lee Soo-min gone. But you can just play off of your shield. PH got his own heals. Belosaria gonna profit from that, as Charge will flip the point.
Oh my goodness, what an anti there from Farway as well. Doom's Bellows, Rhea, Piggy's making sure that no one can disengage. Prophet's going to be a touch of a hostage here. And finally we get ourselves a better disengage where Piggy gets the love and respect that he deserves. This is a very early window, but it does claim the space on the bridge. That's a beautiful answer. Choice A1 was out very far.
Kind of hate that Amp Matrix more and more. With a Reinhardt comp, you can hold the space and definitely have a better angle on that. Easy disengage for the Charge, and Piggy assuring that with the Primal Rage. Seoul Dynasty trying to get the point flipped. Primal from Piggy. He's 2 HP trying to deny it. The Blizzard from Prophet is brought out. To exchange your Winston's life for a Blizzard ultimate is big for the Charge.
Yeah, especially considering that Guangzhou Charge were definitely going to be losing that point anyway. Jimmy can't convert into a kill on the off angle. Guangzhou Charge just need to get a reset here. Choice One likely waiting for the dash, and man's going to get out of there. They give over for Nano.
Okay. This is an overreaction a little bit. Charge had the point, had Seoul Dynasty staggered out, even forced out the Blizzard. Getting a little eager, but Charge will chase down the point lead.
Hey, trust in the carry, I guess. Oh, Choice A1. Not quite the wall climb, but it was expecting so as to use the dash to get out of there. And Jimmy once again waylaying Seoul Dynasty's forward progress by getting rid of their engagement tool of the wall. This means that now Piggy can be a lot more aggressive, knowing that he won't get walled in.
We got a flanking brig with the rally with Choice A1. Seoul Dynasty getting crunched. Belosaria, Choice One, Jimmy on the floor from the Shatter. Soundbeer, Amp Matrix, Tactical Visor, Soul throwing everything but the kitchen sink at this point. As Charge give it up at about 82. Xerneas forcing out 1 or 2 more percentage. Soul back in the driver's seat.
Like you said, though, Lemon, that was everything. Seoul Dynasty paying everything that's in the piggy bank in order to once again control this area. But they can be dislodged super easily. Using this Dragon Strike, Choice A1 now going to swap away from the Genji onto the Tracer. I think it's better to try and either check Profit or get the pressure onto Lee Soo-min. Jimmy on the off angle. A well-placed headshot could turn this into a 3-stage control map.
They're looking for a place for the Dragon right through the engage of Seoul. We're missing their break. Nano available. Do you give this to Piggy or Choice A1? Piggy needs it more. Pops the Primal. Far away. Waits for the moment. Pulse from Profit. Jimmy gets Nano. That's what saves him. Seoul Dynasty down bad, though. Missing 2 in this fight. And it's 96 for the Dynasty. They will have to reset, and it'll go into final fight for the round.
One final fight. No ultimates for Seoul Dynasty to try and make use of here. Lee Soo-min's going to swap over onto the Ana here to try and give long-range support. Now, it's a full comp swap from Seoul Dynasty. They have the time to do it, yes, but Profit might have to feed onto Point to make this work. Choice A1 almost has a pulse bomb. If that can go onto Krillin, it could be deadly.
Charge have the point. Someone has to touch for the Dynasty. Hello, anyone home?
Profit getting picked early, potentially slept by Farway. Might have been the designated toucher, but there were so many changes that we saw from the Seoul Dynasty as they fumbled and tried to find a competition that they could play here. Once again, swapping over towards the Brawls. Jimmy.
Back-to-back C9s. Like, are they good?
Just a couple timing issues, you know. With a more newly constructed team, maybe you're having a little bit more trouble getting to the point as you would like. That's such a good anti, by the way. It stops Belos Rio from picking up the Mega Pack. Farway has been, aside from that weird lack of nano onto Piggy that was potentially deadly on first point, very good with the decision making and the trust in Choice A1.
Okay, it's the Reinhardt Rush versus Reinhardt Rush. And it's equal, but Piggy swings to the fences, and Belos is too low. He's just holding a shield and on his knees, and Charge will make him bend, and they will have the first point.
Dude, Mastermind Piggy, what a fake out there. Turns away to try and trick Profit into thinking, oh, he's not going to go for the third swing, so I don't need to use my ice block. I can simply wait here, pressure, and get the healing. Oh my god, Profit's died twice before the points even been capped. This is not amazing here. Profit maybe not getting enough healing or just simply a little bit too reticent on using the ice block. And it is going to limit Seoul Dynasty's uptime as we do have so many anti-tank characters on the field. This is going to be a nightmare for both Belos Ria and Piggy.
Oh, good Maywall from Profit just to slow down that play. Reinhardt's beating the heck out of each other. Belos Ria, Piggy close to shatter. First one to get it could make a splash in this first fight. Charge taking up all the space in the world and still having the point. Seoul Dynasty rotate to server for App Matrix, and Piggy buries them. Not before Belos Ria tries to get his revenge and keep his team alive. App Matrix's exchange. Blizzard first for Choice A1, 15% ahead from Profit. And that'll give the Charge at least an edge at the end. 2 still left on the point. And here comes the Charge.
Beautiful peeling wall from Choice A1 as well. Keeps Piggy alive after being slammed in front of that Ant Matrix. Another charge in and trying to bisect for Seoul Dynasty and keep them off the point. It's an easy recap due to that Maywall. But now Profit holds the Blizzard in his hand. Snowball ready to turn the fates of the Seoul Dynasty.
There's the Jimmy Photon barrier. Charge play behind it. The Blizzard from Profit thrown past it. Seoul Dynasty have to... Oh, Krillin! I almost died of a heart attack. Charge also dropping barrier 2. They seem fine for now. As the dice fall, you have Profit on the flank, getting healed up by Lee Soo-min. Is by Belos Ria's side. Without Piggy in the picture, Dynasty can run amok and bulldoze the rest of the Charge, but with Farway popping at Matrix, Dynasty are forced to use PH's Photon Bear to protect themselves. Everyone is throwing ultimates and not really knowing what the result of the fight will be. Now a Blizzard and a 3v3 from Choice A1, and Charge hit by the Belos Ria Shatter. And as we're
left, got frozen out of his shadow there. Still not enough to win out the fight. A well-timed Blizzard from Choice A1, but Farway being picked on the other side meant that there was no healing to sustain the fight itself. Now Seoul Dynasty, they have to lock in for the long hold here, Lemon. The Helm's Deep here on Control Center. Piggy once more has a slam. Last time it hit 4 and spelled doom for Seoul Dynasty. They were on the deficit from there, and a TP onto the point.
Such a long brawl for Charge through 1,000,001 ultimates. Got them to 94%. Dynasty have point control. Shatter
away
around the corner. Dynasty find themselves 6 feet under with Piggy on top.
MTD. There's a reason why Piggy's number on this team is 69, baby, because that shatter was nice. And that's twice now Piggy's done that. A 4-person shatter and a 5-person shatter. Piggy is him. There's no other way to say it. On the Reinhardt, he's actually doubling Belos Ria's damage per 10, 7.3k versus 14.6. Piggy is the man. He is the porcine warlord.
And the 2-liter chug by Jimmy. The job is easy when you got Piggy talking, yapping in game, on the field, and out of game. You saw him keep yelling into his mic after that. What a map for the Charge. Up 1-0, getting in Belos Ria's head. But to be fair, Belos Ria was more known for his dive than the Reinhardt, and we'll see in the next map if that'll maybe favor the Dynasty in the end.
Little chuckle here for Xerneas as Guangzhou Charge celebrates some early advantage here. Going up against the Seoul Dynasty. For Guangzhou Charge, this is historically not been an amazing matchup for them. Franchise versus franchise, but there's something in the water, Lemon. There's something on the wind. There's something a little bit different about Guangzhou Charge in 2023. Piggy has bought the secret sauce. The barbecue has been fired up. The meat is roasting. The cooking is here. And Guangzhou Charge, they're taking an early lead.
And Guangzhou Charge haven't dropped a single map in the qualifiers so far. Seoul Dynasty find themselves a step behind. But after this break, we'll find out where we're going to next. Charge are feeling electrified after that Lijiang Tower. MTD in the chat. But up next, we're gonna determine the real king of tanks, and I'm expecting some more Reinhardt leg day.
I mean, there are no excuses when you go mano a mano on King's Row, right? That's where we're going to be heading for hybrid. And Belos Ria has a lot to make up for here. But of course, it was not a solo show. I think that we could all agree that we've been very impressed with Choice A1. Jimmy's getting some excellent picks on the Hanzo, and the Hanzo is something that we've learned to expect on King's Row. An off-angle fight between Prophet and Jimmy might be what determines the overall pace of this game and facilitates either Belos Ria or Piggy, determining on who wins, to get in onto that backline and really start using the speed. But one of the things that's most impressed me thus far is the aggressiveness of teleport plays, what we saw between Prophet and Belos Ria. Maybe Seoul Dynasty can lean into this clarity of purpose that they've been presented to try and get an advantage in those games.
Yeah, PH versus Jimmy on the Hanzo, Prophet versus Choice A1. I had a bit of a giggle when Seoul tweeted about the Prophet margin instead of the Tracer gap. Quite creative, along with some of the signs we've seen in the crowd. Although the players are not on the stage, it's nice to see the fans show up for their teams at the WDG Esports studio in Seoul. And we'll go into map 2 on King's Row, where that's why I was expecting some more Reinhardt, but Winston obviously viable too for that first point, but you'd rather go with the composition you're going to run through for point B. And Winston not as strong on these narrow parts of the map.
Yeah, Winston can struggle a little bit on second compared to Ryan. First is kind of anybody's game, but there's certainly something to be said of like trying to play the same composition on first and second so that you don't get snowballed by a team that maintains compositions and gets to maintain their ultimate charge as well. Here we can see the Guangzhou Charge preparing. We still have Farway and Xerneas not in seats, so...
Well, we got a translation from our sign. A shout out to Unknown, who's translating for us. The sign said, Void is strong, LSM is cute, Prophet is sexy, and Krillin is trustworthy. What? I feels like BM towards Krillin. I would not want to be the trustworthy one. I want to be the sexy or cute one. What the heck?
Or the strong one. And you know what? There's nothing there for PH either.
Oh yeah, what happened to him? He's there.
Well, we saw it. We saw an intro video from the Seoul Dynasty in the first week where I think Prophet said that the team was slightly worried because they think PH is dumb, but at least he aims well. So a little bit of inter-team enjoyment. Some Jimmy enjoyers.
Yeah, and we got a Chinese sign that we can't read, supporting the Guangzhou Charge and Jimmy. That half Chinese, half Korean roster. All right, Xerneas, you done your bathroom break? Okay, PH is now gone too. We'll get into map 2 shortly for King's Row, where I believe we knew who was defending here. Yeah, the Seoul Dynasty are attacking first. Guangzhou are defending.
Ah, I see. Okay. Speaking of Chinese players, by the way, and Jimmy, Farway, and Xerneas, I want to drag the attention back to Farway again and talk about Farway's position for a while as kind of the understudy to Monk. Obviously, Monk now taking the flex support role in our Chinese super team of the Hangzhou Spark, but Farway finally going to get a chance to break out as a top tier flex support. Oh, hello. That's some fantastic shading on that artwork there. Big fan of these signs.
Oh, and we also have some cool support for the Korean casters. I got some lore about the turtle signs that we saw in the previous series about Akaros. I hope I'm saying that right. We got more caster art for the Korean casters. Lots of love for them. Maybe one day we'll get our crowd and someone will draw your tall vertical hair.
True, but the full block of hair, the extra half foot of height that it adds. I believe one of those was Jimmy is the killing boy in Chinese.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, I would be hard pressed to disagree. Jimmy has been the killing boy thus far. He's been killing lots. And officer, I didn't mean to, but he do be aiming.
We even got like profanity on the signs. Thank goodness we don't know what it says, but at least one of the signs said "Watching League until I die." Diehard fans showing up to the WDG Esports studio. Me for he was just like me for
I
real.
thought they were trying to do a sleeping cam, but I think just on the phone.
No, oh, I thought he was sleeping. Oh,
play the Orisa.
Yeah,
I think a Mag Orisa would return potentially.
Cease your resistance. I like that. The A is like a 2.
Well, Dallas Fuel certainly ceased their resistance. Unfortunately. As did
Hi back out, yeah.
Big wave. I like the 3D, the 3D text art. Here we go. Finally heading into map. It's going to be King's Row. We've got butts in seats. We've got a hybrid map lined on up. Rialto later as well. It's also going to be super interesting as we finally get to see maybe a Jimmy PH sniper duel, maybe a bit of the Piggy Diva. But in the here and now, Lemon, I would like to see a little bit more of this Rhine because Belarus needs a redemption arc. Piggy absolutely cleared.
Yeah, but what kind of support is Piggy gonna get this time? Control are always smaller maps in terms of space. King's Row, you have to walk towards an objective and of course defend it. So it does change pace of play versus Control where both teams are attacking at the same time and it's kind of a snowbally game type with You saw how crazy Control Center got with everyone throwing ultimates left and right. I couldn't even keep track. I don't think the teams could either. Think I heard Piggy?
There we go. So, there to summon the energy for the second chance. Of course, it's a big part of the Korean esports culture to have these cheers go on. I believe they are quite heavily practiced before they're deployed on the broadcast. And like you said, some people they really have to put out their lungs doing these. The official cheerleaders, I imagine, is a position of considerable prestige. Lijiang seems to be setting up for a set nade here, but why not actually activate that?
Yeah, for now, Dynasty. We'll have PH up on the top window, swapping out after scouting. And no Reinhardt battles. Winston very viable to get to that top right high ground, where Xerneas is sitting at with the Brigitte, hoping to keep Jimmy packed up, ready to go. Kind of an initial dive from Belosuria, flailed away by Xerneas. We got both teams posturing. Prophet pressuring the point as the Tracer, not summoning any attention yet until he goes to the high ground and summons the flail to the face.
Oh, Prophet going incredibly low. That demands all of the support's attention and drags Belosuria back for a touch of peel. At the moment, Xerneas is being such an effective bodyguard for Jimmy, which is giving plenty of time to hit those shots. Alas, I don't think Jimmy's actually hit a single shot yet. He's on he's on passive ult charge of 15%, but hey, it's the first shot you hit that counts, and PH felt that the hard way.
That's an opening for the charge. Maybe go for more. Saw Piggy leaving the bubble at the front, almost not leaving Prophet a route of exit. Very slow, passive Seoul Dynasty, who are waiting for maybe a PH first blood or Prophet to pressure more of the point, but he's not staying there long enough for the charge to really drop down. Nano, that's what they've been waiting for, to the high ground and slept in that narrow hallway. It's tough to dodge. Gets shot by PH, charge down a healer, as Seoul can make their way to the point.
PH taking the high ground now. Still, there's a slight hostage situation as Xerneas is trying to keep that Inspire uptime. Guangzhou Charge playing this a little bit more patiently as they await a recontest from Farway and Piggy. Of course, the Nano is almost available, which could turn this one around when Farway finally gets LOS.
It's like just a Hanzo 1v1 and everyone just are spectators. Oh, but I want to watch that one. Prophet pulls on the far way. Lee Soo-min traded. Primal from Belosuria and Piggy buying time as Seoul Dynasty are looking for that final tick. And off into the distance is Belosuria having a bar fight with the back line of Charge. That'll net them the payload.
Prophet still got it, man. Getting rid of Farway, making sure that Nano could not be brought to bear. Here we go. Heading now into second point. Once again, I wonder where Xerneas is going to position here in order to try and mitigate the Belosuria dives. The whip shots of these Brigittes are so important as sort of the secondary indicator of when an engagement is good. Sometimes those whip shots can be baited out. Choice A1 catches a headshot from PH. That's going to slow down the Guangzhou Charge here and potentially an ult farming scenario, but they've already got the Nano, so not ideal.
Piggy in a tough spot. Bubble popped. No Primal. Seoul are not really full committed to that alleyway, so Piggy's not taking too much damage. If anything, it was to generate support ults. Farway has the Nano, but with Seoul Dynasty getting free push, Charge waiting to this point is going to cost them space. Dragon strike from Choice A1 as Belosuria committed forward, and there is the engage. Seoul Dynasty respecting that as the Charge invested the Nano to Xerneas and the Rally and the Dragon. 3 ults for 0 kills.
Yep, 3 ults and a little bit of passivity here. Time will be drained, yes. Choice A1 looking for a target. Krillin seems to be #1. Big stick, goodbye.
Yeah, popping Rally at low health is such a risk. It takes time for that healing to generate. Belosuria still thinks this is winnable at the Primal. Only has Ana heal, so has to find Lee Soo-min sitting in main. Not a big fan of the efficiency of these ultimates. Charge, I mean, they used 3 ults and the card hasn't moved, so despite not killing anything, you're stopping the progress, which is the point of defending. Seoul Dynasty, engage, Prophet, misses the pulse. The Seoul Dynasty have a bigger problem, and it's Piggy behind them using the Primal. Jimmy at least headshots. Profit. PH gone too. And the initiative from the Charge is real paying off as Piggy MTD continues with a 3K.
Well, Belos Ria hunted down here as well by Choice A1. That's going to be a slightly longer spawn, but nothing overly consequential. It's PH. Swaps over now. Onto the Sombra. Maybe we'll try and get onto one of these more vulnerable heroes, but this is going to increase the setup time for Seoul Dynasty significantly. So Seoul Dynasty are going to be able to squeeze far fewer fights out of a 1 minute and 45 that they have left available. Profit's gone as well. Xerneas actually picked off Profit twice now with a whip shot, seemingly with the help of the Hanzo assist.
Charge continue to hold this choke. It's been tough for Seoul Dynasty to really put pressure on this backline. And I think that's why PH is on the Sombra, not winning the Hanzo duels, or not satisfied with that performance. Be able to slip into the backline unnoticed, and everyone's caught lacking. Post bomb, easiest stick of Choice in one's life. 2K as the Charge take fight after fight, and Seoul Dynasty can't even go back home.
You got to set enable. I've got 1-2. Catching Lee Soo-min trying to set that one up, but the pace here for Guangzhou Charge. Always striking first. A minute remains. PH caught out from stealth. And look at that. The direction of the translocator gives Choice here an idea of where he should be hunting if he deigns to go after that Sombra and try and hunt down the translocator. Farway playing inside here is important to try and mitigate the overall LOS of the EMP.
Dive after dive, but Piggy is nanoed, has more damage and damage mitigation. Goes after Lee Soo-min. The sleep connects. Piggy out of the picture. He'll have the primal to get out, and he will not have to use it. Good healing from Farway. Good bubble placement from Piggy. A better sleep to stop the Belos Ria. Nano jump in. He has been woken up, though. Has to place the bubble. Seoul Dynasty needs to fuel for their tank. He's been anti. Now Belos Ria has to primal. And what can Seoul Dynasty produce? Well, it's taken a lot of time to generate progress. 7 seconds left, and Seoul Dynasty aren't even close to point B.
They can try and stop the touch here, but no, the EMP strikes first. It grabs everyone, Lemon. A massacre in favor of the Seoul Dynasty off the back of PH. The newbie on the roster says, don't worry, boys. I'll carry this one through. Xerneas, you could see, was trying to sit in and wait, grab a stun with the rally to try and stop a touch, but it was effectively hit out by Profit, who's just going to try and push their luck here for even more ult charge. Guangzhou Charge try and figure out how they want to approach this next fight. Profit hitting a pulse bomb here could be malignant for their efforts.
See if he hits it. Overtime, last fight for Seoul Dynasty's attack. Profit pulse. Nothing yet. Xerneas rally. This could be what stuns up and locks up Belos Ria. Krillin the same thing to Piggy. Choice in one forced to recall. Keep that in mind for the Tracer duel against Profit. Rally to rally. Nano to Piggy. Defense with closer respawns as Piggy plays cat and mouse in the back line. Rolling around in the mud. Without Belos Ria, Seoul Dynasty have to rely on the cycling of Profit and PH on this cart. Profit's been nanoed, but Farway is getting more kills on the Ana. A funny tragedy as Profit does his best, but he's only a man. He's only one person. And Seoul Dynasty will fail to get point B.
Lots of goats to a gods, Lemon. Jimmy puts him down in the end, and honestly, Jimmy's been so impressive, but one thing I need to highlight in terms of the stats here to give our audience some insight is Piggy and Choice A1 both hitting over 10k damage per 10 on Tracer and Winston. Choice A1 at the moment is absolutely dominating Profit when it comes to the Tracer stats. Maybe that's down to doing a little bit more damage onto Belos Ria, but it doesn't seem like Choice A1 is lacking pressure onto that backline either. Right now, Choice A1 sitting at 8k damage done. Profit just shy of 5k with twice as many deaths.
Yeah, Seoul are just not killing much, I gotta say. The pulse bombs from Profit not hitting as much. PH not feeling himself on the Hanzo, went to the Sombra. The EMP he did get was one of the fight wins Seoul got to break out of the point B choke. And Seoul took so long just to figure out what, who, when to dive. And then when they did, Belos Ria jumped up with Nano. I guess Seoul were waiting for a Nano. Belos Ria jumps up, gets slept by Farway. That play is dead. Jimmy got multiple first bloods, which delayed Seoul even more. And this is not a far push for Seoul, so Charge have a chance to go to match point.
Exactly so. Oh, hello. Little catch here. Onto PH. Jimmy doing the scouting. And Seoul Dynasty. They've been having trouble making these engagements work. Velocery is already so low, but they should be easily healed through by Lee Soo-min. Profit. No pressure coming through from them as they've been forced out. Super low health themselves.
I think Velocery is taking damage on purpose to get Lee Soo-min nano charge. And look, he's already at 40%, but Farway has the same idea. Almost 2 ticks charitably given to the charge. Yep, that's been guaranteed. Seoul Dynasty are just on the flank. They'll guarantee a kill on the Xerneas, but if they don't delay this point capture, it won't matter. They summon the attention of Prophet, who will delay this. And Velocery in the back is having an impact, of course. They've killed Farway and more. Charge get off the point to actually peel for their backline and don't manage to get the 3rd and final tick, but you're still happy with the first 2.
Yeah, 2 ticks given away to charity. What is it, the end of a fiscal year and of a Fortune 500 company? Capitalism. Choice A1. Okay. No translocator. So no translocator slams phone?
I don't know if maybe Choice A1 killed the translocator. That's my cope for the day. Velocery lives thanks to the... Oh, it wasn't even a nano. At least you went nano to Profit. We'll see. They can deliver on that front charge. So close to the final tick. Piggy has to use the primal just to make sure that the remnants of Dynasty tell Cersei it was me. PH can't even translocate. He will go back to spawn. Nope, he's dead.
Damn, man. That's crazy.
Piggy's having fun.
Yeah, Piggy is having fun. I wonder if Profit got blasted deep enough inside the subway that maybe they would have been able to change their spawn room. Alas, was not to be, and Guangzhou Charge has taken a huge amount of room here. I believe they've left Xerneas on the cart behind him. Yeah, you can see Farway's got the heals coming through from just behind. This gives a lot of staying power to Piggy to try and force Seoul Dynasty to use resources to even move out of the Foundry area.
Oh, Piggy got hacked, but he's in a safe spot. Seoul Dynasty, EMP, waiting for Charge to be in this open area together. EMP from PH. Xerneas and Jimmy hit. Rally. Or, no, actually, the Nano onto Xerneas to keep him up. Charge still antied and managing to keep Velocery in his place. 5-4. Charge needs to take this space and go for kills. PH just translocate back. Piggy ain't done yet. He smells blood in the water. You found PH multiple translocates out. And Charge 1 fight away from winning the map.
And 3 minutes and 40 seconds in which to do it, Lemon. A well-placed Dragon Strike here. If Seoul Dynasty overstack themselves on the right-hand room, might be brutal. Profit noted by Jimmy, but for now, Choice A1's the first to fall.
Yeah, Charge down 1 this fight. They have the Jimmy Dragon Strike. I wonder if they're trying to funnel Seoul into a small area to do so. Dynasty anchoring the cart too. Charge falling back for Choice A1. Being aware and not being able to bait Dynasty into this narrow area for the Jimmy Dragon Strike. So they'll have to go with plan B. Splitting off into the alleyway is the Charge, trying to take angles around. The rally from the defense begins. The Dragon Strike right through. Velocery jumps out and Profit kicks up the fight for the defense. Good pulse onto Farway. Xerneas with the rally is the only source of healing for this offense. And Charge just don't want that smoke.
Krillin using the 3D peek with a shield to get a good view here of what's happening on the flanks. Choice A1 noted as they approach. Pulse bomb goes in. Profit dies. Hello, hello, hello. Tracer on Tracer bomb action.
Nano Krillin, a lot of sustain in this back line as they try to join their tank. Seoul Dynasty down. Charge up by 1. Primal from Piggy. That'll be all she wrote. And Piggy's gonna make sure they heard it. EMP from PH. He's the only one left and only manages to kill 1. Seoul Dynasty dead in the water. And Charge have not dropped the map yet.
Oh, 12k damage done by Choice A1. Absolutely on fire. 13 final blows, 26 limbs, and only 4 deaths. Unbelievable thus far from Choice A1. Actually building up pulse bombs much faster and Profit. About 1 minute and 3 seconds per ult earns to 1 minute and 37. Choice A1, this could be his year. He's been trapped in a prison of Guangzhou's own making for too long, but now the Guangzhou Charge have been released, Lemon, and they are making a comeback tour that is having a very high body count.
And Belosria just magically turning into another player on the KMs. I wonder if they're doing a substitution, or maybe Belosria will break out of his cocoon and become the butterfly because his team needs it. The tank diff is real, and more about the coordination of the Charge behind Piggy. This is a whole new team, and Piggy is the newest one on the roster and fits this team like a glove. Just going and beating people in spawn, getting a 3K is what this highlight is showing. But it's match point for the Charge. We're gonna throw it to a break to see if the Dynasty can remain together. Charge are on match point. We decided the tank duel on Lijiang Tower, and the king was crowned on our second map. And the Seoul Dynasty have one last chance to prove themselves, and they've called for backup.
Indeed they have, Lemon. Backup is forthcoming. World Champion Void has entered the chat, and as we go to Rialto, I'm expecting to see some D.Va, possibly even some Sigma in a more rare display, but D.Va's going to be excellent for trying to keep Piggy at bay, interrupting those leaps. I don't think we've seen as much in terms of mitigating Piggy's landings from Krillin or Lee Soo-min on the Brigitte, as we've seen from Xerneas, who's been doing a lot to keep Belosria at bay. And you know what? You can't whip shot away the D.Va. She's got continuous momentum during those boosters, and of course is excellent at bruising down that Winston and guaranteeing safe passage for your vulnerable support underbelly when you're moving into the sightlines of what I assume is going to be a Jimmy Widow map.
Piggy's all smiles. A lot of energy behind this team. Going up against Void. You can tell even by the cameras that Belosria not satisfied with his performance. We know that Belosria's peak is so much greater. We saw it against the Philadelphia Fusion when they clutched up against the Hangzhou Spark in many important Game 5s in the playoffs, I think it was. But I think for this next map, you gotta call for an off-tank, whether the Sigma or the D.Va, as you described, by Void. But even in King's Row, whatever tank we're seeing, it's just like this Hanzo 1v1 between Jimmy and PH, and we're all just kind of watching.
Yeah, we're all watching and waiting, and Jimmy often doesn't have to wait long before getting a headshot. Jimmy's actually been doing a very good job of keeping Prophet contained for the Tracer duel, hitting a bunch of headshots onto Prophet, as well as bringing Prophet low with a body shot, which has allowed for Xerneas to actually get multiple whip shot kills on that Tracer when her spacing would indicate that she should be fairly safe. And it's the surprise conflux of that damage together, which has left Prophet taking the long, shameful walk back from spawn a couple more times when Choice Air won.
It's cool to see all the signs. I just wish I could read them, so I always have to wait for someone to translate it for me. But of course, this is from the WDG Esports studio in Seoul, the watch party for the Owl matches. Someone said, tank that is not Void is not satisfactory. Okay, that I was gonna say that first part seemed sus. I was like, wait, tank that is not Void? That's kind of mean. But then, yeah, the second part matters.
Is that the longest way of saying Void clears? I mean, for the fans in Seoul, obviously, they had a fantastic start to their day. Seoul Infernal dominating for Dallas Fuel, making them look absolutely platinum. Meanwhile, here with the Seoul Dynasty, the legacy Seoul team, the team with Seoul Korea on the jersey, no less. It's been less glorious. Guangzhou have been dominating, and here on Rialto, PH has got to step up. Jimmy is going to be reigning over these Italian vistas with an iron fist and a lead bullet.
And I think the difference between these two teams is, yes, Charge are playing that much better, but it's a playstyle clash for me. Seoul Dynasty playing incredibly passive, waiting for nanos, waiting for a first pick by PH, which isn't coming. And on the other side of the Charge, Piggy is playing incredibly aggressive. This is a new player to the roster that says, hold my beer, I'm going in. And it's just, that's what he does. And everyone follows suit. And it makes Choice A1 look amazing when he can hit every pulse bomb too. The profit margin not favoring profit in this case, as it's hard to sync up with Beloseria. But we go to Rialto as Seoul Dynasty have come back from greater depths, but Charge haven't dropped a map this season yet. So who will stop them?
Surely someone. They can't keep getting away with it, Lemon. But perhaps they shall. Seoul Dynasty, a siren call for a reverse sweep will be cheered along. Heading down a lot. Okay. we're just floating down the rivers, pounded on all sides by cheers, possibly cries of anguish. And Jimmy, I wonder if this is going to be permanent. It's what I wanted to see. There's going to be a lot of pressure onto this Widowmaker. With a Sombra and a Tracer on the other side, Jimmy realizes I'm not getting the sniper door that I wanted, and so moving over to Hanzo is a little bit more flexible.
Especially with Sonic, it gives you some important utility. Widow, a little bit easier at these super long ranges, but if you want to burst down the tank, Hanzo will do the job. And especially it puts a lot more fear into a Tracer that's flanking you. Easier to hit that headshot at least. But for now, Seoul Dynasty on the double flanker. See if they can go after Jimmy, who's well protected by Piggy. As Charge look for progress. They do make it around the bend as Seoul Dynasty hold the high ground well. But you need to see some contests from Profit. His attention to the cart. Stop that progress as Charge taped to the skies. See if they can dislodge this defense from the corner. Lee Soo-min left behind. But good Matrix from Boy to eat up some of that damage, but he will take his life in his own hands, I guess.
I'm done with this. I'm going swimming. Boys, D-Max, D-Life, and Krillin now the next to be chased down. Surely, yes, there is going to be a touch of peel there. A good shield rotation keeps the explosions at bay. But the Guangzhou Charge's progress cannot be stopped, Lemon. 5 minutes now as we head into point B of Rialto, and already plays are being made to try and control the high ground, keep Lee Soo-min away from there. You want to make sure the Ana never has a safe area to allow easy access for Choice A1.
Seoul Dynasty playing very passive, waiting for Nano and ults to come up before really taking a fight, and they need to learn how to play high tempo in these neutrals too. Play off of hacks from Profit, or PH, who's been generating the EMPs quite quickly. That'll be one of the, I guess, a very high charge ultimate for Seoul Dynasty. Pulse from Profit. We looked away. It was R-rated. 5-4 for Seoul Dynasty on the defense, who can kick things off in their favor for once. Farway exposed, hacked, Matrix there, Transcendence forced, Farway getting far away from this fight and leaves Jimmy to die, who did not get the memo about leaving the party early.
Jimmy, I'm leaving. Goodbye. Lee Soo-min quickly catches a dink here. Guangzhou Charge, they felt something in the air, feeling that they can still exact some pressure upon this, and Farway swap over onto the Zenyatta. Here's a quick look at Lee Soo-min falling off the map. Oh, simply didn't get his grippers in the plants. You got to take roots down there. A nice boop coming through from Xerneas, even if it doesn't look better.
Ooh, EMP. And yeah, that hurts a lot when you don't have Transcendence. And I mean, that Transcendence from Farway, even though it's popped early, you can produce something from that fight, but the disengage Not followed by Charge. Jimmy got separated away from the flock, and I understand that Hanzo doesn't have insane mobility, but I didn't even see a jump from the guy. Jimmy says, I'm sending it. And Charge have lost a lot of momentum from that.
Yeah, now you've got to try and cross this area where there's so much safety for Lee Soo-min to operate from. Piggy has to like try and challenge her out directly. Maybe a 2v1 onto Profit, but a well-considered disengage here means that there's plenty of support to come through from both Krillin and Void.
Okay, Profit pulls miss, rally from Xerneas, Dragon Strike, and it's right through the right side, not keeping Seoul Dynasty trapped in the fight, which would have been more ideal of a placement for Jimmy. But Charge haven't had their progress stopped in a while, as Seoul Dynasty only have a nano to depend on. They'll send Void in towards Xerneas to confirm that kill in the Zen Orb. Just won't be enough to heal that, but Charge slip it by and cap point B.
They slip it by exactly, Lemon. Seoul Dynasty just playing a little bit too split, concentrated on the spacing, not concentrated on the cart. Void can get staggered out here as the remainder of Guangzhou Charge will be respawning forwards. And Farway can now try and force this next fight using the Transcendence. As of course it's out of sync with the EMP, which is where you're usually going to be using it to try and counter. Farway's actually in trouble towards the back, maybe Profit attempting an assassination, but Guangzhou Charge quick to react to this. Piggy's been fairly on it, although Piggy doesn't currently have a mech. Piggy just got a Baby Diva kill onto Profit. No way.
He's got the mech back as a reward, so that's cool for Charge. 5-4, Dynasty. C9 afterwards. They gotta get their heads into the game. It's 3-minute time bank. If Charge cap this, it's gonna be unstoppable. And Dynasty are looking down the barrel of match point. PH been discovered. Okay, playing chicken with these Hanzo arrows, man. I'm scared for him. EMP hits 3. Farway can't pop the Transcendence in time. And PH makes his presence known.
Oh, Krillin pops the rally as well. Perhaps a touch unneeded, but hey, if you gotta live, you gotta live. That was a beautiful EMP as well, coming through from PH. It also takes away the mega pack that both Jimmy and Farway were relying on. Rather, Jimmy and Xerneas. You know, they couldn't use that. Here's a quick look at the replay. Here's Piggy actually getting a headshot kill onto Tracer. Ah, yes. What a skillful display of Overwatch gaming.
Special delivery. Profit not able to convert on these pulses is setting him behind against Choi Se-won. And Seoul Dynasty need a win condition that is not PH's EMPs. Like the nanos, not helping out too much. I mean, Void, last time he got nanoed, they C9, so that didn't help. Charge have 4 ultimates, almost 5, going into the end of point C. Krillin's gonna play as deep as he can, away from range of Tracers, Divas. Dragon Strike gets Void a bit low, but he'll have a self-destruct to pop, and he wants to put it at a good place. Right on top of the box, blocked by Xerneas' shield. Piggy able to get back into the mech, or actually use his self-destruct. An explosive performance by the Charge as they cap with 90 seconds.
Dude, Choi Se-won is him. There's no other way to say it. What in the world is he up to? Already 2 sticks, 1 minute 16 per pulse bomb earned. Once again, Choi Se-won is pulling ahead of Profit in the Tracer stats. Only 1 death so far. And it makes sense now why we saw Krillin use that weird rally, wanted to swap over onto the Zen. Let's look at Choi Se-won. And it makes sense you want to swap over to the Zen when Choi Se-won's being as difficult as they are. Like, while the Brigitte does have good survivability against the Zen, at this level, you kind of want to put your faith in Profit, right? You want to try and give him the double orb duel where he's got the Harmony Orb, Choi Se-won's got the Discord, and it gives you such a huge advantage of a Tracer versus Tracer, but unfortunately, it meant that Seoul Dynasty had little to defend themselves from Piggy when he started marauding through towards the backline.
Yeah, Seoul Dynasty, I mean, they're trying different things. They're nanoing Void, but they're not communicating about cart presence. Profit is confused on whether to help with the tank duel and to demeg Piggy, or to duel with Choi Se-won on the cart. Doesn't know where he should have his presence at. PH goes to the Sombra, which EMPs have been good. Seoul Dynasty able to force an early Transcendence from far away. Had a couple fight losses for the Charge. PH narrowly missing a headshot there. On himself, I mean. So he'll swap.
Nice pocket here from Xerneas, just keeping Jimmy a little bit safer. But actually goes for a swap and then swaps back. We'll give it a little reset on the grapple if need be. And this is the sniper duel I wish to see. And Jimmy's now once again clued in to Prophet returning. And he's playing a lot further back here. Remember that with mostly squishy characters, the damage drop off with those headshots, not so much of an issue.
Just getting into position is Seoul to the high ground. Kish sticking to the Widow here is brave against, but I guess you only have choice A1. It's going to be hunting you down. Seoul, though, aren't getting much progress. And if you remember Charge's attack, this was pretty smooth sailing. So already better contest from Charge and a good understanding. And PH understands how to hit headshots. Wins that against Jimmy, 5-4. With Seoul Dynasty, can they get the cart moving from this?
A brutal shot. Didn't seem pre-pinged after, just down to that reaction time. And Piggy, so much damage being taken. The anti put onto both Xerneas and Farway, so they've got to look out for themselves now. So Piggy isolated without as many heals, but manages to find a Mega. No Sombras to control those, means that it's whoever can get there first grabs them a Prophet. Did it again.
PH doing a great job to ignite the Seoul Dynasty offense. Transcendence, though, from far away, and a 4v4 gives Charge a chance to contest. But this brings out the Nano from Void, who wants to get this done as quickly as possible. Piggy self-destruct buys a few more seconds for the Charge to get their feet on this heart with 0.29 meters. Charge reestablished. Now have to fight through the self-destruct. And Seoul Dynasty throwing a lot of ults at this and not able to convert. And without Lee Soo-min, it's up to Krillin to keep them up.
Choice A1 still filthy with it. 29 centimeters stood between Guangzhou Charge and Oblivion, but they dug in their heels and they refused to move. A little bit of an escort here for PH, moving around the outside, and Jimmy doesn't quite want to take this stall considering how much support there is for PH. And now, as things start to break down and people start to spread out more, you can try and take your duels as Jimmy.
Nice one clip by Choice A1. Going after Lee Soo-min next. Krillin, attention, misses the bash. Choice A1 with Mega has 3 people after him. Seoul Dynasty just need to trust and Prophet to deal with that. You can't be chasing a Tracer around and forgetting about the front line. Now Krillin and friends return to the cart. Less than 1 minute. The rally at the front and Charge contests with their own rally. And Dynasty just can't seem to get a clean team fight win.
Thing is, Choice A1 as well, he kites back this way knowing that he can bait people into Jimmy's sightlines. Prophet's managed to make it all the way to the back and kill Jimmy. Now Piggy might well stand alone, zone away onto Xerneas, but Choice A1's evened it up. 2 Widows dead and a trance is still available.
Yeah, the Charge can continue cycling. As long as Piggy is up, does Farby want to pop trance to save Piggy? He's like, I'm gonna bomb this one. Throws it over the roof. Seoul Dynasty live. And Seoul Dynasty, this has been a minute crawling through. Need to crack this egg. Void sent in with the Nano, but the Transcendence counters it. Seoul Dynasty only have a self-destruct, and they don't have a Widow for picks. Is this about to be a full hold after PH contributed so much to this fight? Charge put the Dynasty to bed. And me too, actually. Charge 3-0.
Guangzhou Charge popping off Lemon, and every single member of this team has gone so huge. It might be Charles who's getting coronated in my neck of the world today, but I only recognize one king, and that king is Choice A1. This guy has been absolutely brutally efficient throughout this entire series, and honestly, I didn't think that you could head into a Tracer versus Tracer matchup against Prophet, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. The man who redefined what it was to be a diving Tracer and come out on 100% of the maps as a clear victor.
And Jimmy and PH had a fun Widow duel. I believe it was on Rialto just now. Choice A1 and Prophet went at it. Choice A1 hit a few more pulse bombs, at least his impact felt there is we just didn't see the Seoul Dynasty know how aggressive they could be, how far they could extend. We didn't see risks from the Seoul Dynasty. Stuck at point A, not getting through the main bridge and going past the card up until Void got nanoed. And the Guangzhou Charge looked more aggressive with even new Piggy on the roster. And your player of the match is the man himself, the MTD, the laughing tank of Piggy and his Winston. Incredible on King's Row, the Reinhardt diff real on Lijiang Tower, and he got to sit out the last map and still get player of the match.
Piggy managing to dominate here no matter what map he is on. The Winston, of course, remember, Piggy, not so much of a classic Winston player. It was Jungkook playing it in Overwatch 1 when it was Piggy and Jungkook as a duo. Then they had Dante come in to play the Winston for Houston Outlaws. But Piggy, he's had it in his back pocket this entire time. And the thing is, we haven't even seen Piggy's best hero yet. Piggy's best heroes, I think, are both the Zarya and the Sigma. If we end up in a Zarya Sigma meta, Piggy is going to be even more of a menace.
It makes you wonder where Piggy was on the Houston Outlaws. Like, I know there is no one that could replace Dante. And Piggy would come in for a Ryan map, Roadhog, Sigma, drop the mic and leave. We wish we got to see more of Piggy's potential. And I really didn't know what Piggy's potential was up until I've seen this match. And I wasn't sure about the Charge. You know, winning against the Dallas Fuel doesn't say much after kind of how wobbly Dallas Fuel have looked at the start of the season. I just kind of assumed that if the Dynasty can beat Infernal, who are looking like the best team in the league right now, or on the eastern side of things, then Dynasty have forced more maps out of better teams. How can they not do this against the Charge?
But timing. How could it not be done? How could you not demolish the Dynasty when you play like this, Lemon? It's been such a big day for Piggy. And I just got to highlight again, like, this guy was an off-tank player. He was never supposed to be the Winston. He wasn't supposed to be John Winston. But John Winston, he certainly was. And doing it against Belos Rear, a tank with so much expertise on the dive heroes, formerly more of a wrecking ball, but definitely with all of the skill set you need to play the Winston. The force behind Piggy, which allows him this much space from the DPS as well, is being put to such good use. The timing, so solid. And Piggy knows exactly how to exploit that. And that's why he's been rewarded with both our player of the match and a series victory.
I did also enjoy Guangzhou with the Symmetra teleport at the start. And Jimmy, although he usually dodges playing the Sombra, played it on Blizzard World. That was solid. And then went back to the Hanzo. Maybe I'm actually mixing up series. It's been a long night. But this has been a short series, to be honest. And you thought Void, you know, so comfortable on the Diva, was going to look more aggressive diving in. But I think, you know, Seoul Dynasty need more time together to readjust to each other. And the Charge looked comfortable right out the gates. Of course, they did retain 4 of the 5 players they had from last year. So Charge get this head start from that, and they will be first seed. And this is all for the qualification for the knockouts, which will take place much later. There's tons of matches to go still. But being a high seed means you get to maybe get a first round bye.
Yeah, despite it being called the qualifiers, all 6 teams here are going to qualify. None of the OWL teams are going to be missing from our mid-season madness knockouts, but like you said, Lemon, the better you do, the more likely it is that you manage to get one of those buys and don't have to take the tumultuous risk of braving the contenders teams, some of whom are looking incredibly dangerous, especially Pokerface and O2 Blast for some of our lower ranked teams. They might be a boogeyman in the night that could come and take their lunch money and send them to bed with no supper. Overall today, well, we got some time to fill while the interview happens over on the Korean broadcast. So my highlight for today has definitely been Piggy coming to the fore. I think that a lot of people underwrote the victory of Guangzhou Charge 3-0 against Dallas Fuel as Dallas Fuel being bad. But I think that it was definitely Guangzhou Charge being good. Like, it was a match that Guangzhou Charge won, not that Dallas Fuel lost. And I think that people didn't respect just how clean the gameplay was, didn't realize that they had game like they did. And now up against slightly stiffer competition in the Dynasty, Guangzhou Charge are definitely starting to build up that reputational prestige, but they are the real deal.
And not dropping a single map in their first 2 matches. And I have no doubts that the Dallas Fuel can return to the prime, that championship caliber that we know them for. But there is an adjustment both of being in a different region. This region plays different compositions. They play it also differently. The play styles are more aggressive and more weird. You have Reinhardt comps Symmetra TPing out of the point. You got more Symmetra brawls. You got more Junker Queen in this region. There's a lot more different stuff to prepare for. And of course, the mechanics from the APAC region are just, I personally think, are out of this world. And Dallas Fuel it's stiffer competition on this side of the border. And Dallas Fuel, it's a wobbly start to them. Yeah, same thing with Shanghai Dragons, who are 0-2. And you mentioned the Fuel versus Dragons match is gonna be good.
It's gonna be good for the audience. That much is going to be guaranteed. I think that Dallas Fuel versus Shanghai Dragons, when it happens, is probably gonna be a Dallas Fuel favored bloodbath, because while both teams are looking slightly weaker at the moment, I think that Shanghai Dragons are fairly monodimensional. They're a 1D team who like to play the Winston, and the Winston is not great against the Junker Queen. That's like the one thing where the Junker Queen is definitely at her best, and it's pulling that Winston back and making sure the Winston can't get an effective dive onto the backline, which is why so many teams, like we saw today, are going up against the Junker Queen and just playing the Reinhardt instead. But is Flutter going to pull out a Rhine? It seems increasingly unlikely that that's going to be the case, as Shanghai Dragons seem to have scrimmed one comp and, supposedly scrimmed one comp, but I don't know.
Yeah, if Hanbin loses to Flutter being on tank, Dallas Fuel have bigger problems than we could ever imagine. But it is gonna, Hanbin has had those hot and cold moments in the last season, hence why he traded so much playtime with Fearless, depending on what the meta was. Hanbin clearly better suited for the Zarya, which ended up being the championship meta, and really something that Dallas Fuel are known for innovation. But when it comes to playing what's meta, sometimes they're slower to adjust compared to others. But it's cool to see a team like Guangzhou Charge, who haven't often been at the top, come out swinging early on.
Yeah, Guangzhou Charge, I think, to steal a point from a desk, the talent has always been there. Like, as you said, 4 members of this team have been held over from last year to this one. Piggy was a late addition to that team, but was still a part of it towards the end of our 2022 season, just not there long enough to make a tangible difference to the standings and get them qualified for playoffs. But I do think that Guangzhou Charge, they have actually been rewarded by believing in the Piggy pickup that was called for and just taking time to integrate him into the roster. And maybe you could argue that against some of these newer rosters like Seoul Dynasty that have been far more recently generated, maybe you've got that familiarity gap from the Guangzhou Charge, which gives them slightly cleaner gameplay. But honestly, on Seoul Dynasty, we saw things like the TP plays from the Symmetra with the Reinhardt that looked like a very practiced and well-drilled team, and they still lost so many, and they're also losing mechanical duels as well. So that's something that Guangzhou Charge have in their back pocket. They're not just winning this through familiarity of their own strats, they're winning it through huge mechanical outplays from both Choi Se-won and Jimmy.
And tomorrow you can look forward to some really good matches. The Seoul Dynasty face off against the Shanghai Dragons. We know what direction that's going. But the second match I think is going to be a banger. The Charge versus the Spark. Now, the Spark are touted as this #1 team in the region. Everyone has them at the top of their power rankings. I mean, how could you not? They got Shy and Leave on the same roster. This has already crowned them MVP. But going up against the Charge, who haven't dropped a map yet, I think that's going to go the distance.
It is definitely going to go the distance, and I think that in a time before, in 2022, if I told you that the most anticipated Tracer matchup in APAC was going to be Leave versus Choi Se-won, you'd call me a madman. You'd say like you're a silly fool. You've gone too far this time.
Yeah.
We need to put you down.
Too. The matches are silly too. 3-0 across the board. And Dallas Fuel have only won 1 map in those 3 matches, being a King's Row. So maybe preferring that the Zarya rush from Hanbin. It was actually Mag that brought it out too. Soul Infernal
Yeah.
Just played flawlessly today. We've seen a total of 3 C9s today, if anyone's keeping track. It's been a day. Here's how the standings have now been shook up as the Charge climb up to first.
Yeah, Guangzhou Spark, of course, dropping that map to Dallas Fuel previously, I believe. Doesn't mean they're second in our standings, but of course, when it comes to claiming that first spot, I think it's going to be down to the results of the Zhou between Guangzhou and Hangzhou that we previously talked about. Meanwhile, Shanghai Dragons, they do have a map in hand. They're to go 0-3 potentially. We haven't seen Seoul Dynasty and Shanghai play their third match yet. I believe that should be coming up tomorrow. Guangzhou Spark also only having played 2 matches. So we do have a slightly skewed table here with some teams having 3 matches and some teams having 2.
And here is your matchup for tomorrow that we already talked about, the Dynasty versus Dragons. Now, how did the Dynasty unboom themselves from today? Because, yes, Charge played well, but Seoul Dynasty didn't look synced up together. It was kind of nervous dives, waiting for nanos, waiting for something, waiting for Hanzo first picks. And I want to see more kind of eagerness from Seoul's tanks. And if they do start losing, they got to unboom themselves. They got to talk to Belosaria, get his head back in the game. Or maybe he was fine and maybe Void just wanted to get a match in. But the Shanghai Dragons will also be chasing their first match win. Facing the 2 best teams in the league, I feel isn't fair for Shanghai. I mean, Hangzhou and the Seoul Infernal. Maybe we just don't know how strong Shanghai really are because they've just been beaten down by number 1 and number 2.
They have, yes, gone against some high-ranked teams, but in the matches, it didn't look that close. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's still a chance they could try and bring it back against the Seoul Dynasty, but when it comes to unbooming themselves, like you talked about, Lemon, I think there's nothing better than just having a team outing for the Seoul Dynasty, going on a little bit of a turkey shoot and trying to destroy the Shanghai Dragons. But hey, Shanghai Dragons, they have a bunch of highly touted players on their roster. It's by no means a toothless roster. If you give them an inch, they may well take a mile, but I still find it increasingly unlikely.
Yeah, Dallas Fuel have a tough schedule too. Guangzhou and the Infernal and Hangzhou. Like, Dallas and Shanghai look down in the dumps because they face some of the best. And they may just settle in middle of the pack if they can't beat the big 3 right now. But it's a long season with many stages. And whatever happens in the knockouts is a different story. This is just for seeding. So, yeah, you'll have a tougher road, maybe facing the top caliber contenders teams. Yeah, you won't have a first round bye if you're not within the top 2 seeds or something like that. But wait for how these teams develop with time. There's been a lot of roster changes. There's been a lot of meta changes. A new hero's been released. People are experimenting with that. But with that, our day has concluded. It's a 6-0 leg day.
Yeah, it's been a quick one. 6-0. We've had some inglorious defeats. We've had some fighting while going down on the side of a Seoul Dynasty. And we've had, I'm sure, a lot of stimulating matches, which are definitely going to generate a lot of stimulating conversation from the Shanghai Dragons and Dallas Fuel fan base as they assemble their collective canisters of cope to try and figure these ones out.
Well, I hope you guys have your cope canisters filled for tomorrow. We'll be live same time, same place for the continuation of the Overwatch League Spring Stage for the Eastern region. Thank you all for watching. Good night, good morning. See you tomorrow.